hearing just from everybody new in the community, how they approach things, and our next speaker is no different. So with that, I'm happy to introduce all the way from the Netherlands, Ksenia. She's from Mollie, and she's a developer. She'll introduce herself. She's great. Here it is, Ksenia.
All right. Okay. Hi, everyone. All right. So thank you so much for joining. It's my first time at the Meet Magenta New York City. Of course, not my first time in Magenta community and Magenta community overall. And yeah, super excited to be here. A few words about myself. I'm based in Amsterdam. So I flew all the way from Netherlands to join this amazing event. In my role, I'm doing developer relations, developer advocacy. I'm also, I would say, doing some product management for improving developer experience for those who use Mollie. I'm also really big on advocating for women in tech and trying to do my best, even with my resources and my time, if I can help out anybody who just started, their journey in this amazing technical world. Okay, a few personal facts. So first, I have a baby cat, Tiffany. So for all pet lovers, super excited to talk to you after. Exchange pictures, talk breeds, whatever you want. Like, I love all dogs, cats, and I don't know where we can have. And, okay, it's bragging time. I have really, really high Uber rating, okay? It's 4.98. I don't know if it's gonna stay like this way, okay? I don't know that after New York City, but for now, this is the current state. All right, so what we're gonna talk about today? So we're gonna talk about two major things. First, I wanna share with you how we revamped developer documentation and how we basically, improved user experience, improved the UI, how we migrated all the content from the old tool to the new tool, what helped us, and all of the learnings. And second, I also wanted to talk about internal documentation because basically everything what you're doing externally, whether you're doing for project for a merchant, or you're doing a product, you still have to document everything. And this was my, I would say, painful part when I was leading this project, that there was nothing internally documented for that, and I struggled really a lot with that. Okay, so we're gonna have, again, two things. Like, we'll talk about their external view on that and how to make it appealing internally to also take care of the documentation. Okay, interesting fact, that developers experience productivity boosts when documentation is written proper way, like 50%. I mean, I know it's not a surprise, right? I mean, it's kind of expected that this is truth. And this is taken from GitHub study, which is, I think they have the biggest community of, they're like developer first company. And of course, they have the biggest community of developers. I mean, they users developer. But at the same time, we have this. It's like internet. Twitter speaks to me that I've never met even one developer in my life who would be excited about writing documentation. Yes? Oh, I can see Laura. Okay, you're the one. But honestly, like, it's impossible. Like, I don't know. But at the same time, when something happens, when there is some issue or something, everybody's like, oh, do you have documentation about that? I really want to look into this. How's it going? And I'm like, well, like, okay, let's see what we have out there. So I think there are these points. Yes, we do understand that it's important, it matters, but I think there always should be effort into putting into this, so we have it documented. Okay, I want to share with you the Mollie documentation. So this is what we have now. And we shipped it in 6 weeks, okay? And I want to share with you all of the learnings and how all of this came together. So just to make sure, like from the very beginning, we didn't put refactoring of the old content right away in the scope, okay? So we wanted to improve UX, we wanted to improve the user journey when the developer building something, we wanted to work on our API reference, and of course we wanted to use one tool, simplify the tech stack, and so on and so forth. But content refactoring, it's ongoing process. So you always work on your documentation and you improve that. What challenges do we have? So I want to start that, like we had, I think, 3 sources of documentation. So we had our help center. Then we had our actually API reference documentation, and then somehow we had all the integrations, plugins, let's say documentation for Magenta plugin, how to integrate it. It was also separately. Why? I don't know, because it was never documented. Red flag. Then we also had really high document volume. So Mollie is a payment service provider. So of course, we work with all the platforms and then different like third parties and integrations, and all of them require documentation. And then of course, there is a custom like implementation when you also document all the APIs and guides for that. Yeah, complex tech stack. So I don't know, yeah, it's like we had 3 tools. Why? I have no idea. But we had 3 tools, and it's like all of these tools, they have to be integrated into one each other. And then when you maintain or there is any update, you have to take care about all of the 3 tools. So it's really not optimal. So I can tell that now for sure. That was an optimal decision that we had. And I would say about the user interface, I wouldn't say that it was like terrible, okay? It wasn't. But still it can be better. So there were not that many like escape hatches, as I like to know. Like for instance, you jumped on some documentation page and it's not what you're looking for. There should be some escape hatches to something that can be actually similar what you're looking. Let's say you jumped into Connect for platforms, but you're actually from marketplaces and you're looking for a solution for marketplaces. There should be some link navigating you to there, right? And one more thing, for instance, that also you don't add more than 10 links, like hyperlinks, to the guide or article. Because otherwise, user will be just clicking on everything because user believes you, these all links are important for him to open. So, and you know, it's like little like tricks that you do, but it improves significantly. And I mean, we are tracking this, so we launched it like in May. And we, of course, since then, we will actually like tracking how it's going. Okay, so I was leading the project, and I'm like, okay, team, now we're gonna do that, amazing. This is how it's going to happen. I was like, we just set up goals, we know everything what we need to do, it's super easy, like it's documentation, everybody knows that, right? So we set a goal, we achieve it, done. Well, little did I knew that it's gonna be like this. Surprise. And of course, there were a lot of learning, and sometimes I'm like, oh, maybe we shouldn't go this way. And you know, all of this like feeling lost that, no, it's not right at all. And then you're like, okay, I'm getting there. And then you're like again, oh, no. I'm struggling, it's not working this way. We have to, you know, like maybe readjust the entire plan. So just to let you know, even we've done with it within the 6 weeks, still, this was a reality, okay, how it actually was. So let's talk about the learnings and I think what we've done differently to make it happen so efficiently and fast and actually with the result that I'm pretty happy. First, you really have to set up clear goals. You don't want to over-engineer it. For instance, if user wants this, you don't build, like, you don't build this if user wants this. Sorry, I just mixed up the pictures. Like, this is a simpler solution, right? Why would you go and build all of that? Just don't do that. Make documentation comprehensive, make it consistent, make it user-friendly, but don't go into all of these layers. And I mean, all of us develop and build in web stores, all of us know the documentation, and I'm sure that we know certain examples of the picture where it's super complex. And when you're actually like drawn in documentation, you're like, I don't know where to go. I don't know what's, okay, I'm giving up. Okay, next one. We had a really small team. So we had one front-end developer, we had back-end developer, product designer, okay, for the look and feel, and also project lead, so I was leading it. And the idea was not to have too many people, so we can ship fast, we can make changes. And second rule was that everybody in their area, they're empowered to make decisions. We don't want to go to, I don't know, like VP product, CTO, whoever it is, like engineering managers. We don't do that. We do that, we ship it. If something's not right, user will tell us, right? So we just make sure that we have all of their tools for user to give us feedback. Like they even can contribute via like suggest edits. They can give us feedback on our Discord and community. So we open up all of the possible opportunities for them to share their feedback. But at the same time, we didn't really want to take that long time. We're like, okay, we know what user want. We ask user what they want, but let's just, all of us, we can do that. And another point here, apart from the small team and making decisions, all of us could do everything. What do I mean by this? For instance, I was leading the project, and if I know that my front-end dev, he's super busy, and he can't do this, like all these customized blocks of HTML, CSS, I'll go and do that. I'm like, it's fine. I mean, I know how to do that. Why I'm going to wait for you, right? I will just do that. If something's wrong or I don't like, but hey, it's like HTML, CSS log. I can manage that. All right. Another learning, yes, you do need to simplify your tech stack. Like, you have to do that. So when we started, we had, when I picked up the project, there were 3 tools used, 3. So we ditched 2 of them, and we migrated everything to 1 tool. So basically, all of the content that we have, like integrations or API references, so on and so forth, all of this now sits under 1 umbrella. And I think this is a way to do, like, to go. And I feel sometimes when teams get used to that, to all the tools, they're like, but they're nice. We can use it. It's beneficial. It's so convenient for us to use all of these 3 tools. Always try to, to challenge the thinking. Because if you like how it used to be, it doesn't mean that it's still efficient and it's still nice for your organization to use it this way. Okay, another really, really important point, and I think that we probably had to do this earlier, but we didn't have our APIs documented in the Open API specifications. So with this migration, we decided, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to document all of our APIs, because then when you put all this effort into this, it's kind of working for you. So all the automation that comes from the Git and then any updates, any MRs, you can see directly. So it actually does the work for you, and then also changes the process how you document APIs, because when developers build an API, they document it on the way in this standard, and then you can see it in documentation. So this is really, really nice practice that I recommend everybody to look into, because this is a way you can simplify this process, save time, make sure that you have up-to-date information in both sources. Okay, internal documentations. Well, yeah, I had so many questions, because it was like, okay, why are we using 3 tools? Why are we using 3 properties? Why don't we do this? Why we don't have our APIs documented into Open API specs? Like, I had so many questions, and I didn't have any answers on that, because people who were previously doing the documentation, they weren't in company, like they were no longer in company, so I couldn't really talk to them. And there was really nothing that I can find in Confluence or somewhere in the docs, so it can help me, to understand and maybe also question my choices, because I would love to see this historical data. Therefore, like, in the second part of this talk, I'm really going to focus on internal documentation, which is helpful, again, for if you work in an agency, if you're working with merchants, if you're building your own product. It is important there. Okay, one more learning, no meetings. Okay, I'm the person who hates meetings. I believe that you go, you chit-chat for 10 minutes, for 15 minutes, then you have 10 minutes or 15 minutes left, and then probably you get a chance to discuss something, but not really. So every time when my team is like, oh, let's do a meeting about that, I'm like, okay, what are you going to discuss? Okay, give me like agenda, what do you want to talk about? And then majority of times you see that all of these things, they can be done async, right? So you don't need to be always in a call. While it's nice and everything, totally get it, but we're a small team, we're like 4 people. Why can't we just have our Slack chat talking about this and not having meetings? And I know actually for some people it was difficult to understand. They're like, oh, but we have to align on this. I'm like, we are aligned. This is how we do that. Or if you disagree, let's talk about that. So basically, we had only one legit meeting at the very beginning, where we're like, okay, this is our scope. This is what we're going to do. We aligned on how we're going to do that, right? So with the input of like backend and like overall like the picture of the entire project. But then I was like, no, we don't need that. And actually it proved it. Like, you don't really need that. If something happened, you just start like, thread in the Slack and yeah, here we go. Okay, next one. I truly believe in the concept of iteration. I think that everybody have to ship fast and then do incremental changes. Because you can really get stuck into all this like production, like perfect view, which probably doesn't exist. Like I personally, I've never seen product that would be ready for 100%. It's not possible. So my motto to the team were like, okay, if our project, in our case, if we're ready 60, 80%, so most likely we're in a good shape. So we can ship it. And then again, incrementally do changes, which is fine. If it's below 60, okay, probably it's horrible. Okay, then you have to really, take your time, adjust, work on everything that you have, and make it happen after. Okay, a few other considerations before we jump into the internal documentation. So what else we've done? I think it's really important to have so we automated the formatting and style checks. We had also I think it's like weekly review cycles. So just to make sure that we didn't have like team of technical writers who write, I don't think it's scalable. So we had one technical writer who do the review weekly of the tone of voice, logic, that it makes sense if somebody wrote something. So it all kind of in the same tone of voice and so on and so forth. But we don't have like army of technical writers who maintain the documentation. Again, I don't believe it's scalable. I think also actual automation, one more thing that's really nice to do, automate the repetitive task. Let's say you can just create templates. You can create templates for your documentation. And again, it doesn't matter if you're doing this for external documentation, internal documentation. When you have template, you actually fill in the information which was already prepared for you. So you don't spend time on building all of this, like a backbone of the, yeah? All right. So I can just tell, like we shipped it in 6 weeks, thanks to all these learnings, because again, we were empowered to do all these decisions. And I can tell for sure that well-documented projects and products, they achieve better outcomes. But what I actually faced next, because I was like, okay, we all have to contribute to this, we're all writing, everybody can write in Mollie. We have technical writer who can make it beautiful, whatever. But if you documented something, or if you're building a new feature, you should be able to write about it and explain to user how to use it, so on and so forth. And I always heard these questions like, but why to document? Like, it's super easy. It's like, it's on the surface. You can get that. And I was like, okay, let's get it back. Okay, let's see in some facts. Can you imagine that 20% of employees' time spent searching for information? It's literally like 1 day out of 5. So it's crazy, right? So you're paying, if you have a team under you, for 1 day so they can find the information. For me, this is ridiculous. Like, think about it. So it's really, it doesn't sound that efficient and productive, I would say. And if you talk about the impact, there is we definitely can talk about the improved communication, when you have new members joining, onboarding and training, even knowledge preservation. Again, if somebody leaves the project, you have something, you have understanding, okay, what's going next, what I have to pick up. Productivity, I think it's, clear, quality assurance. So all of these things, like when you have this clarity, consistency, you reduce any misunderstanding possible, you leave the information, you give a chance to others to understand why certain decisions were made. So I think it's like, it matters for so many different things, and impact is significant. And now I just want to go through a few of the use cases. So this is how I was convincing also our team to have this shared responsibility for all the documentation. So let's say you're developing a product catalog feature for e-commerce site, and it actually becomes more efficient when you have the same coding guidelines let's say, and you have them written somewhere, okay? It's not like, okay, hey, John, let's align how we're doing this if it's a small company, but you actually have it documented somewhere. This is how we're doing this. Does it make the process better? Yes, it does. Consistent API documentation. Here, it's more about, let's say, you integrating third parties, I don't know, like some services, and you do need to have, again, this documentation, so developers have no issues with implementing it, and they also can easily troubleshoot it. Version control. Well, I think using version control, let's say like Git, ensures that all the changes to the code base are tracked. I think it's a must. I don't know if anybody is not using it. It's a must that you should have. And same with the project documentation. It's more about internal project documentation. But if somebody is working on something, let's say somebody is working on a project for your merchant, maybe big project, maybe it's migration, a really complex project, right? And imagine some core member leaves. And you're like, okay, where are we migrating? What we're doing? Like, this is like a really big project for, I don't know, a year and a half or something. Like, what's going on there? And a few more things. It even works toward the clients, toward the merchants, because this is a way you can actually improve the communication. You can actually have this like feedback streamlined if you document it all in a normal, like in a comprehensive view. And project tracking, same. So you can actually have these milestones and make sure that all the requirements met and all the expectation from both sides, they're aligned. All right, and two more things here. Okay, and offboarding, I think it's pretty clear. So when you have all their project phases and milestones documented, it's really helpful for new team members when they join in. So you have some knowledge preservation here. And also, let's say design specification. So in agency, you may have designer or product design, brand designer, or any designer. You can call it how you want it. But you can have also, using this, detailed style guides and UI kits would ensure that all design elements are consistent across the entire project. And then again, if this person leaves, you have this system behind, and you're like, okay, this is a project especially for large merchants. All right, so a few words about the internal documentation strategies. So first, I think throughout my entire presentation, I was talking about this docs ownership. I truly believe it should be shared responsibility. Even if you have resources, money to hire, let's say, 10 technical writers, I don't think it's efficient. I don't think it's going to work because your product managers, engineers that are building stuff, they know better what they're doing, better than any technical writer. That's just how it is. And if you actually encourage team members to take ownership, let's say, of specific docs areas, that's going to be so much easier to have this always up to date. So I would say in Mollie, we have, of course, we have product teams. So let's say team payment experience, they own their part about documentation. Then we have, let's say, point of sale. They also have their own part of this. And their product managers, engineer, they work together on some content. Even if it's not perfect, then we have technical writer, only one person for all of these teams who is reviewing it, who's like making sure that, okay, there is a tone of voice, no grammatical errors, mistakes, and so on and so forth. Second important part is docs and workflows. So it also should be taken into the process of development and sprints, and that helps you to actually smoothly move towards your product building and having documentation. And again, even if you're not talking about some product, but we're talking about project, or maybe new website that you're doing for your client, it applies the same way. And yeah, I mean, and you can use different tools and plugins that also kind of can help you with all of that. Like even what I was talking about before about open API specifications, this is a perfect example how to automate this. Okay, and docs culture, this is the biggest and most powerful, I would say, strategy, but also the most challenging one. So I think if you want to really ship fast, if you want to have everybody, have this responsibility of contributing, you definitely have to encourage this culture. So you should make it clear that documentation is goes right after the product. Yes, product comes first, but if you can't document it well, it doesn't make sense because user won't be able to use it properly. I heard so many times when somebody said, oh, we are not using product A because we don't understand, it's poor documentation. I don't understand how to use that. It's just it's like that. So I think it's really, really powerful thing to have maybe some training session to explain some practices. Personally, I wrote a few guides for my teams, and I'm just this is templates. This is, I don't know, this is what Oxford comma is. This is how you can do that. Because it's education. It's one-on-one thing that definitely helps them to get up to speed with this. Okay, to recap, what are we talking about? Key things. So first, incremental changes. Okay, we'll get this. Ship fast. And remember that, again, 100% readiness doesn't exist. It's not. It's you can't be 100% ready. Automate where possible, because it simplifies and saves some time for you. Make sure that you have short review cycles. So we're doing it weekly. But you can also have it I don't know, depends on your projects, depends on what you're building, if you're building product, or maybe you're working for a merchant, so it can be different. Yes, shared ownership, I just talked about it. Culture, which is really, really important. And recognize documentation responsibilities. Okay, assign and recognize. Okay, and at the end, I just wanted to say, make complex projects easier to navigate and document them. Thank you so much. That was it. Yeah. Should we have some time for questions? I think we're doing good. Yeah?
We have time for 2 questions.
Okay, amazing.
Great hearing everything you had to say.
Yeah.
We have time for 2 questions from the audience.
Yes.
Great. I think we've got an usher here.
Yeah.
Out of the 3 tools that you were using, which one did you choose?
Well, so actually we ditched almost all of them. So we had Algolia for search, of course. Then we had Polygo. And we're we're not going to use it anymore. And we switched to README. And actually, it's even less expensive at these 2 tools. And then for Help Center, we're still using Zendesk. So but there is a plan also to reconsider this. So yeah, I would say that, and maybe there was something else, some extension, something that we were paying for. But I was just why? Technology goes so fast. Let's just use one tool for everything. We don't need this complexity. Why to support it? So yeah, that were the tools.
Great.
Yeah, there is one more question.
Hello, hello.
Hi.
Thank you for presentation. And I have a question. What exactly AI solutions you used for collecting all documentation? It's the first question. And the question that's coming from this, what exactly you read to understand how to describe your project?
That's a very good question, especially the second one. I would say that I'm learning all the time. So even if I said to you oh, we shipped it in 6 weeks, yes, it's impressive, but I'm learning all the time. I'm especially on the product development side and understanding the user, because my main customer is developer, so I'm doing developer relations, right? So I'm listening to, to be precise, I'm listening to podcasts. I got a Lenny's podcast and other product-focused podcasts. I read a lot about product. Marty Keegan, I don't know if you know him, he's also writing a lot about the product and how to make sure that you actually get the user, you don't make assumptions. And I talk to our user. I think this is the most powerful thing. So I talk to the user, we have a community, and every time I'm doing something, I'm okay, can we have some beta group who want to be part of that? So I think this is also something that I don't make assumptions. I don't want to make any assumptions. I want to make sure that user tells me how they want to do this, how they see that, and and I kind of make it optimal for them. So I think this is, but it's like ongoing. You can't learn it once and for all. And I mean, we can take it offline and I can share even more. In terms of AI, I think that we didn't really use it for collecting the documents because we had them in 3 different sources, and we had an issue with extracting the content from Polygo. You can't really extract their markdown, or you can't it's not possible. They give you their own format in PDF, which you can't do anything with this, which is not flexible. So for this, we were like, okay, what are we gonna do? And we're actually migrating it manually to avoid any, mistakes or things. And when you're doing it manually, okay, you're double checking again the content, which is good. But we're using, of course, some prompts for grammar check. We're using it, of course, for spelling, for sometimes even logic. So we have a few prompts that we're using. So we don't use, let's say, army of editorial team who are sitting and reviewing that. So we're using AI where it's possible. And also I know that we also introduced their bot in the help center, which also helps to answer the questions and make it more easy for users to get what they want. So I think this is 2 major things. But again, while AI is great, you still have to be with your community. Okay, but that's 2 great questions, really great questions.